Here I am, in the place to be. Mr. K and B, you can't fuck with me. Extra sexy, extraordinary. Palms are hairy, your mama pop.
What up, y'all? KB the Sexy Ninja.
And I'm Doug.
Welcome back to the Sexy Ninja Cast. It is fueled, it is powered by crazyhoodiez.com. You can check out all designs created by the one and only Big Daddy. We also got some new merch on the TeePublic. Go check that out. We are on any and every social media you can think of.
Even the ones that can't speak well.
Exactly. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're anywhere and everywhere you get podcasts. If you are subscribed, I can't talk for nothing.
Slow yourself down, man.
If you are subscribed to the Cplus Studios feed, you get the Sexy Ninja Cast, you get the New World podcast, you get the Big Daddy Forever podcast, and you also get the Social Event podcast. Now, that's where I'm going to stop, because I don't want to stumble anymore over my words. Just blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. All right. You brought a conversation. What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about nostalgia and why it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know, we live in a world that none of our media is original anymore. And people say there's no such thing as an original idea anymore. And that's, you know what, for the most part, that's fine. I accept that. That's cool. But we live in such a corporately run entertainment system that everything has to be rehashed. You know, how many Star Wars spin-offs are we at this point in time? How many Star Wars TV shows? Marvel spin-offs, the Marvel shows. We'll get more into this one, but Disney live-action movies. Like, all these things that refuse to move on from something that was popular from our youth. Or from before our youth.
Or like how many Batmans we had. Superman, Spider-Man.
Freaking Superman Returns. That was a nostalgia trip for the old Superman movies that didn't work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, horror movies. You know, how many Friday the 13ths have there been? How many
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Halloweens? You know, and even, you know, a bigger one on this one, just for the fact that there's literally only been one actual movie, but it was still a remake. It. You know, they made the made-for-TV show a long time ago, and then they just make a 2-part movie. Like,
The movie's good, though.
Movie's not bad, but the movie's just that TV live-action thing a little grittier. And
they cuss. They
Yes.
cuss and a lot more blood and stuff.
Yes. Well, I mean, again, it was made for TV back in the 1980s.
Well, it's like Lord of the
90s.
Rings. The wifey started that new show, Power of the Rings or something like that. And
Yeah, it's telling the backstory of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, and it's that, like, we have very few, I guess, original things coming out. Things that aren't mired deeply in nostalgia. And popular media is pretty much dictated by that nowadays. You know, we'll start with one of the easiest, biggest targets. We look at the Disney live-action movies. What has any of them added to the original source material?
Nothing at all. I think the only one I vaguely liked was the Beauty and the Beast, but even then, the Beast looked weird. He didn't look beastly at all.
Well, that's the thing, is you take something that was animated, that was hand-drawn animated, not to look like a human, not to look like a human turned into this per se, but to look like a beast.
Yeah.
And then you put that back on screen. It's the same thing with The Lion King. You know, you take these creatures.
I never seen the whole movie.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I know you went to the theater, right?
I did. I saw that. I did a...
Oh, you did. You did a review.
I did a Popflix on that one, or at least a small Popflix on that one, where I was just like, yeah, beat for beat, almost entirely, that was the exact same music, you know, same songs, same beats in the story. Yeah, like, they twisted some stuff and made it worse, if anything. And you know, now we have the big controversy about the new Little Mermaid movie. And I ultimately I saw someone posting on Twitter about how people are mad that they're cast a black woman as Ariel. And I was like, oh, I don't care about that. I hate that this movie is going to exist in the first place. Because even in the trailer, they're singing Part of Your World. And it's just showing that they're not going to do anything different. That the biggest difference they have is in the casting. And technically that's true for The Lion King too.
Well, me and Phil talked about this last week. We were saying, like, you know, like, it's one of those things where when they cast her, I remember when they cast her as the Little Mermaid, the actress one, and the poor actress too, she just signed on for a role and stuff like that. But we were talking about the fact that we made a joke about when they're in the room together, and they're like, "Oh, well, she's gonna be black. Okay, cool. Well, we need to kind of explain why." And then, and they're like, "Oh yeah, because they're supposed to be based in the Caribbean Sea and stuff like that." Yeah, and that's why I was reading what the plot was, that it was gonna be based in Caribbean Sea. So me and Big Daddy were like, "Oh man, you imagine that meeting? Someone's like, yeah, man." We need to have her go to the Caribbean Sea. We need this to explain why she's black. And I was like,
I'm confused as to what prince there's going to be there.
yeah.
Because that's the thing, is like, one of the reasons that at least Eric could be explained as being white is because he was a European prince in whatever time period this was. So he's probably not going to be black, if that was the case. But if you're putting it in the Caribbean, like, what kingdom are we gonna have?
I probably won't see. I didn't even watch Mulan.
Oh, me neither. Although I did hear that Mulan did the most different. But ultimately, what they did is they took all the fun out of the movie. There's no music, no musicals in it at all. And to be fair, we're talking about miring in, all of the old stuff, and that's at least a step away from that. But at the same time,
is it necessary?
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point about all nostalgia. Is it necessary?
Yeah, because I'm for one where I've told you that I'm like, yeah, feed me nostalgia, feed me this, but now it's to the point. It's like, it's just like Jurassic World, the new one, the Dominion. Is that what it's called? Yeah, just like that one. Like, yeah, it was like beat for beat. They're like, oh look, he's walking. The T-Rex is walking behind that big circle thing because he looks like the logo. Get it? Then it's just like, here's all these characters, but they really have nothing to do with the plot.
Well, and it's so it goes even a step further behind that, though. Jurassic World itself, not even Dominion, just Jurassic World, was someone went, hey, we have Jurassic Park as an IP. What can we do with it to make more money? And then they made the first one, and it made $1 billion. And they're like, oh, we need to keep doing this. And it's nostalgia being what it is 1,000% our fault as consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, why is there a sequel trilogy of Star Wars movies? Not because it's a story that absolutely needed to be told, but because Disney bought the rights to something that made millions of dollars.
It's like Andor. I'm like, okay. And they're pushing that show hard. And there's supposed to be 2 seasons, 12 episodes per season.
They haven't even done the first season. Why are they for a second
I guess
season?
they filmed that much. Like, it's going to be 2 seasons and 12 episodes each. And I'm like, I'm all for Star Wars. I'm on board. Like, slap Star Wars on that. I'm going to watch it. But it's something like Andor. I'm like, it could surprise me. It could, but it's like, is this necessary? Because I already know the fate of this character in the sense of, like, he's going to die here in the Rogue One.
Obi-Wan. That's Obi-Wan again. When you were talking about how you were like, he needs to, like, early before like all the episodes, you're like, he needs to get rid of Leia. He needs to get rid of Leia because there's no danger for him or Leia, because we know what happens to both of them.
There we go. There's a good, someone brought that up to me, like, oh man, Leia was like a key fact. I was like, but we already know Leia ain't gonna die. She ain't gonna get scarred or this and that mentally. I go, once Leia was brought in, that's another thing with nostalgia. It's like, no, look, now we got little Leia, and we can sell the toy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing now. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was in the store. The wife bought me the grapnel launcher from Batman '89. And I was looking around the store, and everything that I'm nostalgic about is now a product. Mm-hmm. It's on the shelf I don't really collect pop figures, but
I mean, okay, don't say you can't. Don't say you don't really collect pop figures when I can look in this room and see at least.
Well, you did get a majority of the Rise of Skywalker ones, so.
Yeah, but I didn't get you any of the Green Lantern ones. I didn't get you any of the Jaws ones.
Oh, the Jaws ones, yeah. But I'm just saying, I'm not big on pop figures like my brother.
Oh,
you know my brother.
Okay, but there's a difference between being big on something and being obsessed. Your brother's obsessed. You are big.
That's a good point.
No, but it's and pop figures themselves. Those are all nostalgia trips. You look at all these things and other movies. Like, let's talk about the MCU a little bit. Is they are grappling so hard with letting characters go. people are like, hey, we have Iron Man. Well, we're going to get rid of Iron Man. What are we going to do? We need to get Iron Heart now, so we have something to remind you of Iron Man. You know, and it's even in the Black Panther movie, which, you know, the new one, they're in some capacity or another, it looks like they're bringing back another Black Panther.
Yeah,
I'm really concerned about how they're doing that ultimately. Like, because we had this discussion a long time ago, especially after Chadwick Boseman's passing. They were like, oh man, we don't want another Black Panther. But then I found out, I think we talked about this, that he wanted somebody else to play Black Panther. He didn't want it to be him and done. So now I'm ultimately like, we should respect the hell out of the person that wants that, who was that part.
Yeah, and you know, it at this point, they should have just recast it at this point, you know, because I recently watched Black Panther, and I was like, man, he was introduced in Civil War, then he got his movie, and did a few other things with the Avengers, but didn't get his second movie, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's what makes me sad, because I'm like, I want to see T'Challa keep growing and whatnot, but with Chadwick, you know, but everyone, there's going to be people out there, no, you can't. No, you, I'm like, but
well,
how many?
How we were originally. What I'm saying is the thing that changed my mind about that is when the actor who plays it literally, he knows he's dying. Like, that was, dude, he was such a boss in life. But you know you're passing away and you go, I don't want to be the last person to do this. I want someone else to take over after. That's respecting someone's wishes. Even if someone's like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. It needs to be done. Like, not that he's dying, but Robert Downey Jr., whoever plays Iron Man next needs Robert Downey Jr.'s blessing.
Yeah.
Whoever does Captain America next needs Anthony Mackie and Chris Evans' blessing. Because I can almost guarantee you that when they're like, hey, we're going to turn Falcon into Captain America, Chris Evans being who he was is like, dude, do it. I want you to have this spot, because like what a freaking boss he is. And it's these iconic characters being.
I've seen some great memes for that, because they announced the title of the movie, New World Order. You remember when Hogan did that whole like he wasn't Hogan, he was that American whatever. Yeah, someone put Captain America New World Order, and it shows him with that blue mask Hogan used to wear. Like, yeah, it's like, Marvel presents Captain America New World Order.
Oh, and speaking of actually wrestling, that's another one. Like, we'll move for movies for right now. We already talked about how, you know, Disney movies are dog shit when they are trying to be unoriginal.
Undertaker. How many times they've...
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
No, Undertaker, The Rock, Cena, like, and even like you look at old manias where you had Bret Hart facing Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 26, and Bret Hart literally couldn't do anything because of how injured he was. And then, freaking Ric Flair.
Who had another last match.
Yeah. But you look at all these people that, like, the WWE refused. I can't speak for present, because I haven't watched anything recently. But they refused for the longest time to move on to the next generation.
Well, presently, Triple H is like, all right, everyone that Vince hated or changed my characters or fired, they're back. They're getting their names back. Like, first names are back. So, like, Austin Theory became Theory for a while, and then he became back to being Austin Theory. Tommaso Ciampa was one of those ones, too, where he went down just to Ciampa, and now he's got his first name back, and this happened, like, a couple weeks ago on Raw, and I was like, first names are back? What? They can have two names now?
No, but, I mean, you look at, like, wrestling was mirrored from the early 2000s to the mid-2010s. Like, everything that happened in the early 2000s happened again in the 2010s with the exact same people.
Yeah. Because
they would not let stuff go.
Oh, it's like, oh man, what was it? I remember me and you every time this happened. Randy Orton versus Cena. And it was kind of like, all right, I get it.
Yeah. But, and it's just all of these people that they're like Cena is probably, I would say Cena is probably the biggest use of it. Maybe The Miz too, but The Miz is something, like, at least he changed his character from how he originally was. But Cena has been almost the same character for, the last 15 years? And it's always coming back to the WWE to do this.
And how much he loves the WWE. And,
yeah. And where, like, you got The Rock a few times coming in. The Undertaker was pretty much just an annual gimmick that Vince was having, which, man, that just became sadder and sadder as that went on. His last one was actually probably not the worst. His second to last one was the worst. His second to last one against Roman Reigns, where it was just a stomp fest, and you're just like, please don't.
Or, what was the random Cena? Because he didn't have an opponent.
That was the last one.
Yeah.
I think that was the last one, wasn't it?
I think so, then.
I think that was the last one where he just comes in and he just shit stomps Cena.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, you're going to face someone? It's the Undertaker. And just Undertaker just stomps the crap out of him the entire time. You're like, okay, he's looking better than he was a year ago. Because he needed the hip surgery and all that stuff.
Yeah, and, you know, that's why I think now, with Triple H at the helm, it's definitely, I feel like you should jump back in. Like, it's I'm getting, like, moments of, like, oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Like, I could actually be tricked and surprised by the WWE now, you know.
Maybe I will, but it's nostalgia which was keeping me away from it, honestly, because I was so sick of seeing these things that I enjoyed when I was younger being brought back out like freaking puppets to be like, hey, look, we have this person. Yes, they're old and feeble, but still, there's the entire freaking
Goldberg.
That, but I was going to say the, what was it, Brie Bella versus Charlotte thing? Where they were just like, oh my gosh, it's pretty much Ric Flair versus Daniel Bryan.
No.
And you're like, no. One, that match should never happen. But no, it's just with wrestling specifically, it's that they are bringing back the characters, but they're not bringing back the characters themselves. They're bringing back the actors who did those characters, the wrestlers, and it's so sad to see them older and older and older. We're like, when we watch Star Wars, like when you see Harrison Ford or
Mark Hamill
Fisher or Mark Hamill, and you see them older, you're like, okay, you acknowledge that time has progressed, and to be honest, all of them looked good.
Well, it's
for
like
their age.
It's like freaking Indiana Jones 5. Like,
I have no intent to see that, to be completely honest. I probably will, but I have no intent to.
That's just us, though. That's just us, the nature of being like, I really don't need to see that, but I know I'm going to go to the theater and see that.
No, and it's just there's so many things that I just look at in my life that I'm like, wow, it's Andor. I am not going to watch Andor. Like, I'm not. I'm sorry. You know,
so I have your blessing to review every episode.
You do whatever you want. You can.
Usually when it comes to Star Wars or movies or anything like that, like I want to do reviews, but out of respect for both of us, I always want to make sure that you're in the room.
Well, and it's Bad Batch 2. I'll give it a try. Like the second season of Bad Batch, I'll give that one a try.
Okay.
Because that one at least seems like they're taking things from a considerably different angle, and yeah, they're all using the same actor who's been in all of these things, but. I don't know. Something about that one, I just like... I know it is so mired in nostalgia, but it's still something that I'm willing to give a chance on. Like, because there's that new Halloween movie coming out in a few weeks. I'm not going to watch that one. I haven't watched the last two, I don't think. Like, I watched the old ones, and they were kind of fun. But, you know...
The first one and the second one sucks, because... I don't know. The second one is one of those ones that try to harp on what's going on today with all the Trump stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I hate when I see that.
You're talking about the new ones. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Talking about the original ones. I was like, I don't know. The first two Halloween movies are pretty good. The third one's where everything went kind of weird.
Yeah, no. The Halloween Kills is the second one. Yeah. But yeah, that one definitely tries to harp on like Trumpy type people, you know, because there's a chant in the movie where they say evil dies tonight and they go after the wrong person. And they get that person killed, and then they're like, oh. But the way the scene plays out, it just seems like a Trump rally. Evil dies tonight! And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, I go to the movies to be entertained and not see these sort of things.
It's called escapism.
Yeah, I want to escape. And, you know, and with nostalgia, I was just looking down at my comic books. Same thing. They relaunched these damn events. Like, right now, there was this event called Dark Crisis for DC, but then on the 4th issue they revealed it's Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I'm like, cool, you know.
Well, that is what comic books have lived after. Because, Death of Superman was one of the largest comic book events ever. And since then, they've been trying to recapture that same kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. There's a new anniversary issue coming out for the Death of Superman. And it has new stories in it from other perspectives of other people.
Cool. It's pretty much like what they do nowadays, too. Because, you look at almost any comic book event, there's always the side stories going on during the event that you're getting. And, yeah, I guess they decided to do that with this. But...
Well, because they had Flashpoint. Now they got Flashpoint, the newest Flashpoint going on with Thomas Wayne. Because apparently time reset back to the old Flash. I don't know. But that's the thing with comic books that drove me crazy. Because Marvel is really bad about that. They're like, oh, here's a new Secret Wars. Here's this event. Here's this event. We're going to rehash it. Civil War 2, which was garbage, but...
No, it is how they sell their stuff. Because the people, such as yourself, that typically vastly enjoy comic books don't want to grow up. They want to live in that time where things were simpler, where things were easy. And this is the double-edged sword of nostalgia, though. That is what nostalgia is for. Is to make us feel like when we were younger. Make us feel, oh man, this reminds me of the first time I did this. When I was a kid reading these comic books in my room, had no cares in the world, had no troubles, didn't have a wife, didn't have kids, didn't have a mortgage, didn't have, it's bringing you back to that sensory-wise. And that's why people get very mired in it. Why people think, oh my gosh, we need to, this is so good because it makes me feel this way. And it's fine, but the problem is, we're adults. We've grown up. And
somewhat.
Yes. Well, I'm talking literally.
Yeah, literally.
Maybe not emotionally, and that's kind of where the problem comes in. But it's not that we can't enjoy these things. It's that now our media that we grew up on is being regurgitated for the next generation. Well, not the next generation, a few generations down, but still, for this generation. So now you have all these people who and you're going to empathize with this, their entire ideas of what Marvel is via the MCU. They don't understand the comics, they don't understand stuff like that, but that is what it is. So, are they going to pick up a comic book and read it? No, they think they know everything they need to know about Thanos because they watched, Infinity War.
Like Black Adam, I already seen people and I'm like, no, did you actually read Black Adam? Black Adam is I know, it's just one of those things with Black Adam. It's one of those characters where I'm just like, he's a villain. He's a villain, but...
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was. There was no redeeming to him initially.
Yeah, and because recently, now he's kind of in charge of the Justice League. Because, I can't remember, but it happened recently. And
because they were going to be making a movie about him, and they want him to be more of an anti-hero character.
I love when movies come out, because then it reflects
the landscapes,
it reflects in the art, too. Because I have one issue of Green Lantern when the movie came out, where it was spot on Ryan Reynolds' face and everything in that. And it kind of freaked me out because I'm like, that's not how Hal looks in the comic books.
No, and it's look at Star Wars. People that don't know anything about the Legends or Extended Universe. You look at...
me and Phil just talked about that. So with the EU and everything, that's nostalgic to me as a Star Wars fan, the old EU and stuff like that. But now Disney, now that they own Star Wars, now they're rehashing new stories. They just dropped the Princess and the Scoundrel, and it's Han and Leia's wedding. And I'm like, I already know. Well, now that's when you were bringing up nostalgia, I was like, oh yeah, that is sort of hey, you want to see how they got married? I was like, well, I already know how they got married. No,
and it's the way that this generation views our childhood has been changed because we are constantly regurgitating everything to them. I mean, friggin' Top Gun Maverick.
I love that movie, though.
No. But the reason I think you love that movie, one, is Tom Cruise. You just love Tom Cruise.
I do love Tom Cruise.
Two, that it is pretty much the first Top Gun movie changed for the modern day with a lot more emphasis on the trainer than the original one was.
Did you watch Maverick?
I watched it with you.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Damn, man. My memory's bad. Oh, wait. No. We went to the theater, and it was my dumb ass.
We went a week early. Yeah. No, how do you not remember that?
I don't know. Maybe it's because
you and me, too. Phil wasn't even there. There's not even the excuse.
And it was that random dude that was sitting by me.
Yeah.
Oh, Top Gun's so good, though. Top Gun Maverick.
Well, Maverick is fine. I'm just saying that it's still just a rehashing of the original one, just altered with a lot more emphasis on somebody else.
But we walked out of that movie, though, and we did say, wow, that's what a summer blockbuster is.
Yeah.
That to make you escape, like, and it didn't have no politics or issues in it.
Well,
even though
it did have issues, but...
yeah, but it didn't have the outside world affecting it. It's like, I came here, the jets are flying, I'm gonna hear.
God, it was loud.
Oh man! And when it shook our chest, yes. I was like, oh. And I just remember being like, oh. And then right when the movie ended, I was like, oh my gosh! Like, that's. I think there's the nostalgia in like how a movie makes you feel, and that movie made me feel like, oh wow, because I got to see it again on the plane to Denver. They had it on there, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I started, and I got kind of sad that I only watched half of it, and I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, I just love this movie so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, and but it is still something that the selling to us was not, hey, there's this movie about fighter jets. Hey, it's another Top Gun.
Yeah.
Like, Elvis. Like, that may not have been a sequel to anything, but you yourself told me that Elvis himself was something that was so important to you in your childhood. And that's what this movie is feeding off of. Your nostalgia for that person in this movie. So it's ultimately a lot of the movies that we watch, the reason that we love them has something to do with how it ties to us emotionally. And maybe not even in the story the movie itself tells. So that's what Elvis, Top Gun Maverick, a movie that's like weirdly nostalgic for itself, Avatar. Like, I know
he won't let that die, man. It's going back in the theaters. The first
the 23rd, one,
yeah. And I'm like, please, just
he wants to keep above Endgame, like because Endgame beat his movie, and now he's like, oh well, I can't have that happening. I need to re-release this one.
And he released it in China. Remember, that's where the sales boosted back up and then beat Endgame. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw the commercial for it being like, oh, it's back in theater, I'm like, you just can't, huh, Cameron?
No, and it's because it's been 10 years since that movie came out.
Yeah.
And now he's releasing the sequel to it because I remember when we saw that movie, it was, oh, this is a pretty okay movie. Nothing crazy, nothing great. And they're like, oh, but they're doing 2 sequels for it already. And we're like, okay.
I was like, this is just Pocahontas with blue people. I still say that. Like, that movie's nothing special, but I remember that movie being on everybody's fucking mouths. Everyone's just like, oh my god, Avatar's the best thing I've ever seen ever.
I think it was a very visually stunning movie for the time, but I ultimately didn't care for the story. I like the actors in it too. Friggin' Sigourney Weaver and what is the name of the dude who plays the main guy? The character's name is Jake Sully, but I can't remember what the actor's name is.
Terminator. He was in Terminator.
He was in Terminator. Salvation.
There's another franchise, Terminator.
Yeah. Oh, jeez, that one just won't look. But the funny thing is that movie itself kind of makes fun of itself for doing that.
Oh, Genesis?
Well, no, all of them.
All of them. Oh.
Wait, was he in Genesis?
I thought he was in Salvation with Bale.
Yeah. Because they have someone else that looks weirdly like him in Genesis.
Yeah, and it's like, I was thinking of like with actors too, that's nostalgia there because I just saw a recent movie that I was like, I'm sold because I had Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, Chris Rock, and it's one of the, have you ever seen that movie American Hustle?
No.
Yeah, the same director did the movie Silver Linings, whatnot. But it was like the cast alone, like Mike Myers is in it. Like anybody, Robert De Niro and stuff like that, I was like, oh, sold. Take my money.
See, that's the problem. Like that's where we are. That's an issue. Is that we are so sold on brands, even if it's just a person's personal brand, they're gonna go see it. Because the moment I saw Margot Robbie on that, I'd be like,
And I love my Margot Robbie, so...
I can't think of a movie that she's in that I actually love. I can think of movies she's in that I think are okay. Both Suicide Squad movies are fine by my standard. I'm not as hateful on them as I used to be, but they're fine. You know.
I rewatched that. It was on TV the other day, and I just had it on just to have it on. The first Suicide Squad.
Okay, I was like, there's two of them.
No, yeah, the first one. I was like, this isn't that bad. I was like, the flying trash garbage. Enchantress being the bad guy is the worst part of that movie. That everything else was fine. Everyone else did. I was like,
I don't know. I think the fact that a plane never actively lands in that movie is also a little bothersome to me. Like, someone joked about this in something I watched, but it's the truth. Is crashing is how they get to the ground. That's all there is. There's no planes landing. It's just crashing.
Yeah, the trash in the sky ring, whatever.
Sky beams, yeah.
Yeah.
But sky beams have become indicative of the time. Like, that's just how it goes. Yeah. I don't know who did it first, but pretty much since Avengers did it, it became a huge thing.
Yeah. Well, and it was one. And you know, I know that's Big Daddy's favorite movie. I don't harp. Like I said, I rewatched it. I was like, all right. You know, Joker's fine. And that's the thing. Is like when people get nostalgic about actors like Heath Ledger playing Joker, you know, and Jared Leto giving his own little take on it. I didn't mind Leto's Joker. I've said that before a bazillion times. Like, he should have been the main bad guy of the movie. Like, that would have made more sense instead of Enchantress, because I thought that actress was terrible as that character.
Ultimately, I think that Warner Brothers should have cut Assault on Arkham. Like, they should have been like, oh, we're making a Suicide Squad movie? Okay, make this Suicide Squad movie and give them Assault on Arkham, and just made that into a live-action movie, and that would have been great. You would have had Batman in there, you would have had Joker as the main bad guy. Most of the other stuff would have been pretty similar. You would have had Killer Frost, though, as opposed to a few of the other people. But, yeah.
That's what we say a lot of things. Like, was it the Justice League War?
Yeah, Justice League War should have been Justice League.
There you go. It's plain as day how you want to get these guys all team up. It even has Darkseid in it.
Well, it's so the funniest thing to me about how a lot of movies are made nowadays that deal with nostalgia is that they are both made almost specifically for the people that they're nostalgic towards, but they have to be so specific about how things are introduced. Like I was saying, the reason I think Justice League War would have worked as a movie is that it would have focused around 2 or 3 of the lesser-known Justice League members, and ultimately just been to the audience, hey, you know who Superman is, you know who Batman is, you know who the Green Lantern is, you know who Wonder Woman is, you know who the Flash is. So let's focus on the other people now, so that they can get their time in the sun. But no. We have to have Man of Steel. Then we have BBS, where they're just like, yeah, you know who Batman is. Like, we're not going to introduce Batman.
No.
Except for they still showed Martha and Thomas dying.
I remember at the beginning of the theater, I'm like, dude, you could have just done the scene where he fell in the cave and with the bats going up. You could have just done that. You didn't need to. You needed to show me the whole thing again. But that reminds me of Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Oh yeah,
when they try to alter time, but then they're like, oh well, we need to go fix back things. They push him in the crime alley.
That is some of the most screwed up stuff I've seen in the kids movie, but it was great. but it's still, that's how these movies go. Is that it's especially with superhero movies, like, you cannot just have someone there. It doesn't matter how well known they are. Like, Star Wars did this with Luke too, where, like, it wasn't just Rey going, hey, we all know who you are. It's, but you're Luke Skywalker. You did this. You did that. You did this. And you're just like, yes, we know. We watched the other movies. You know who else knows? Goddamn Luke Skywalker that you're telling this to. I'd be like, oh, but your grandfather did this. Yes, I know what my grandfather did.
God.
But, like, it's just, it's so annoying when those things happen. Well, we can't be trusted as an audience.
It's happening right now currently in the audiobook I'm reading. Well, not reading, but being read to me is The Shadows of the Sith book that the newest one I told you about, where it's Luke and Lando's story before Force Awakens and all that. There's moments where the character's Ochi, the one that had the blade, but Ochi has this dream and then out of nowhere, where he's hunting down Jedi, then they're like, and Mace Windu comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, wait, what? Then it's like he wakes up. It was a dream. I'm like, oh, like,
Well, no, I don't know. It's just funny because how things are now nostalgia wise. Like the big thing now, I think, is the 80s. Like you can disagree with me if you want, but
no, Stranger Things was all that,
and then Wonder Woman 84. Give it a few years, we're going to be shifting into the 90s. We're going to get nostalgia for all that stuff. Like, and it's also the number of remakes and sequels and stuff like that to old, classic IPs. There's a limitation. And the funny thing is that I hate it. I'm hating it more and more, at least. When people go, hey, they're remaking, not a true thing, at least I don't think, but they're remaking Back to the Future. And you're like, why? That was a story that was pretty open and shut by the end of the third one. And
well, it's like Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was neat, but it was like, at the end of it, I was like, oh, okay,
Did I need to get this extra story at the end of the original story that we had?
Yeah, because the original crew don't come back until the very, very end of that movie.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, I'm here for them. I really don't care about the kids.
Well, that was the thing with the 2016 Ghostbusters too, was that you had like
the cameos.
Yeah, the cameos, and you're just like, wait. So the Ghostbusters in this movie are original. Like there was not a Ghostbusters group before you, and you're making this now.
And then the stupid joke was like, oh, they don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah. But it's we have these reboots, remakes, stuff like that, which are very mired in our nostalgia for these characters or these IPs, and it's hard because sometimes I'm like, I think this will be a good movie. I think this will be, well, I don't really think that much anymore about a lot of things, but I think this won't be a bad movie at the very least when you're going into some of these things. But at the same time, it's a problem when we're doing it because we watched the old thing. Like, if they were to make another Back to the Future movie, but it was a reboot. It was not.
I wouldn't even like
But people would, and that's the problem, is that they would go, oh, it's been over 30 years since Back to the Future came out. It's going to be 40 years in 2 years or 3 years from now. But, oh, we're going to, do it. This time we're going to do it different instead of,
I know Robert Zemeckis has been like, over my dead body. Unless I'm dead, then you can do it, But that puts a timestamp on him. I'm like,
I know.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They decide to do that. And Marty McFly is being played by Tom Holland. And
oh, don't do that to me.
Doc is being played by an older, gray-haired Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, no. I don't want that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, is like, you have this people would do that. Like, someone would go, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. We're gonna do this.
Well, remember the whole Chris Pratt, Indiana Jones thing for a while? Like, oh, he needs to be Indy.
No. I remember the whole Shia LaBeouf thing.
No, so they were talking about the franchise carrying on. And we want to see more younger Indiana Jones adventures. And everyone's just like, why not Chris Pratt?
Why not the guy who was in Solo?
Yeah,
he looks like him at the very least.
Well, that poor guy.
Yeah, I know.
Solo kind of ruined his career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, and nostalgia goes with a lot of things that are crazy, and how corporate America twist them on you and stuff like that. It's kind of like here's music. Prince taking all his stuff off music platforms and everything like that. Like, if you wanted a Prince album, you got a record or you got a CD or something of that nature. He scrubbed the internet. He had his own company, owned his own, all the music and blah, blah. Right when he dies, they're like, oh, it's back on Spotify, it's back on Apple, it's back on this, and yeah.
I think there's a Simpsons episode about that, actually, where there's all of these corporations that want to use actors or famous people in their ads, but they can't do that because it costs too much, and they refuse to do that while they're alive. So you have Homer kill a bunch of actors. It's one of the Treehouse of Horrors. But they have him kill a bunch of like famous people so that they can start putting them in these stupid ass ads. I'm like, no, that's pretty spot on for how things work nowadays. But one other thing we do have to talk about as far as nostalgia, which you didn't bring this up as nostalgia, but you brought this up. Clerks. Because you cannot go and tell me that you think it's dumb that people are rehashing ideas.
I'm not. No. It's Kevin is when I saw the trailer, I'll be 100%. I was super excited because
I remember I was there with you. I think.
Yeah, I was. I'm still super excited. I can't wait because I'm seeing reviews and I'm like, no, I don't want to read no reviews. I want to go feel this movie for myself. But even in the trailer. And then with Randall being like, oh, I had a heart attack, like Kevin. Oh, I'm going to make my movie. What's the movie about? It's about clerks. Mm-hmm. So, Kevin, yeah. And I got to say, his last original idea was Tusk and Yoga Hosers, and I don't think people... So,
not many people know about that.
But that's the thing, too. Like, I for one, like, if once Ghost Pizza ever gets made, and I made Ghost Pizza. Ghost Pizza was a success cult, whatever film. Hell yeah, I'm making sequels to that.
But see, and it's the hypocrisy of it, though, which I understand, because it's how you make money. That is, it's not... I'm saying that it is bad from a cultural perspective. I say it's bad from a personal perspective of all of these things being redone. Oh, gosh, I just saw Hellboy up there, and that reminded me that there are 2 Hellboys.
Last one though, I don't really.
But it got made because the first one was at least enough of a hit that it got remade. First two. Oh right, I forgot the Golden Army.
Yeah. No, I saw a really cool cover. It was like an art. I saw it at Bookman's, and I thought it was the Ron Perlman Hellboy because I do enjoy those movies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh cool, and I grabbed it. I started walking with it, and then I was like, wait a minute. Then I read the back, and it was the David Harper one. And I was like, nope, that was garbage.
No, but it's and I'm not saying though that we cannot make these. I'm saying we are very, very reliant on that as an industry of entertainment, where if your movie doesn't have a number on the end, it probably wasn't that good, or it was a cultural film or an indie film or something like that you might have won an Oscar for or stuff like that. But it's, as far as mainstream entertainment goes, it's all nostalgia and sequels of nostalgic properties and reboots and remakes and stuff like that. Like, I mean...
Nice Clerks 3 pull, though.
I know. Well, I was thinking about it for a bit where I'm just like, wait, Clerks 3 is pretty much just the inspiration for the first Clerks movie made into a movie.
So meta.
Yeah. So, as meta as it is still a very nostalgic property doing the exact same thing.
No, there's a good joke in that trailer, that first trailer they dropped, when he's like, wait, when Dante's like, wait, you're gonna kill me off? What if there's a sequel? What am I, some hack? And then it cuts to Silent Bob going...
Yeah. No, it's like, just think about it. Like, so many things that we have in our life that are big that, Batman. Batman is big because he's been remade so many times in the mainstream. He's big for us because we really enjoy his stories. But and honestly, one of the main reasons that I know about him is because of his movies initially. Yes, after that I read stuff. But when I was a kid, you had the Schumacher movies that came out, which, as stupid as they may seem to some people, as a kid they're very enjoyable, and even as an adult I still think Forever is very fun.
I watched Batman and Robin the other night.
Yeah,
just because it's the one-liners.
Mm-hmm. No, but that's and it's so the thing is with those ones, they themselves are nostalgic properties to the Adam West ones. Like, you look at Burton's, they're a very big split from that, but you look at the Schumacher ones, you're like, wow. It's like he somewhat modernized the Adam West ones and just gave them a bigger budget. Yeah.
He added the sound effects in Batman and Robin, which is funny. The zoinks.
Yeah. No. But yeah, it's hard because what entertainment do we have without that? But it's also annoying because I am getting diminishing returns on my enjoyment of these things, of, you know, properties coming back and back and back. And I just look for both of our kids, that they're growing up in a more diluted world of our entertainment.
Oh yeah, now it's like, oh gosh, like I'm looking at Chucky over there. He's got his own show. Season 2 is coming out. You know, like
one, it's a big thing that we don't have a problem with, but was a big thing, big controversy, or whatever you want to call it. Teen Titans. Teen Titans. When we were younger, there was the animated show, and then you got Teen Titans Go.
Oh man, you remember how many people
were pissed about it?
Now people love it.
Yeah, now people love it. And then but it's because, okay, so I always said that even though if you have the same actors, it is obviously a different tone on purpose. Like, that's what this movie is a different movie, or a different show.
It's one of those shows, too, if you watch the original first season, whatnot, definitely aimed towards kids. And then the writers were like, wait a minute, adults are watching this, you know, let's start
more
doing
older teens into adults.
Let's write for them. And there's a lot of things that come out of that show where I'm like, wow, that's funny to me. Well, that's really dark funny. Like, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, there's an entire episode where friggin' Starfire has the racist alien that's with her that keeps calling her this racist name. And Cyborg is like, hey, you know, yada yada. She's like, do not call me that. And you're like, oh, jeez. And she explains it to him, and he's like, you know, being a black cyborg, I'm used to a little uninclusivity here. Like, I understand where you're coming from. You're like, geez, okay. But like, then you go, and it's just super lighthearted, super funny, super silly all the time. And then DC Universe, was that what it was called? The app?
Oh yeah.
That came out,
and
they put Titans out.
Fuck Batman.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, we're just going the exact opposite direction.
Yeah.
Now that would be a three people movie together I'd love to see, is Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans versus Titans.
Titans just shoot them.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, I wouldn't kill the Teen Titans Goes.
Damn, now I want to watch some Teen Titans Go. I love Teen Titans Go.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, it's not I'm not saying that nostalgia is a bad thing per se. I'm saying there are negative parts to it.
Well, there's bad and there's good. You know, there's some that balance out, and there's some that just, you're like, kind of cringy. You know,
but it's turning us into hipsters. It legitimately is, where we're just like, oh, it's better in our day. You know, we
I don't want to be that guy though. You know,
but that's what we are. Though.
I know, and it sucks. Like the other day. Speaking of Batman, someone brought up the Batman, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that movie's a masterpiece." I'm like, I want to consider it a masterpiece. I go, it's good, but it's a little too long.
Oh gosh, it's a little too long.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh no, that movie's perfection." I'm like, God, you're making me that guy. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, you know, I got bat nipples back in my day, you know.
Not even that. It's when we went and saw that movie, when you saw a review or something that someone's like, oh my gosh, it's better than The Dark Knight. And we're like, we watched it and we're like, it's not bad. It's not better than The Dark Knight,
no. And he was like, but he ended with, he goes, yeah, but we all know it ain't no Dark Knight. I'm like, we should all know it ain't no Dark Knight.
But it's just funny that we saw that and we're just like, that's some really, really lofty expectations on this movie.
This movie was more for, I would say, the artsy, you know, cinematic people who like
noir,
and you know, and that's where Batman comes from. There's a lot of, but
it's literally from something called Detective Comics.
Yeah, and it's like that's the only thing. Like, it's one of those things where if you put Dark Knight and you put the Batman in front of me, I'm gonna pick the Dark Knight every time. The Batman I've probably seen less than 5 times.
I've seen it twice.
Yeah. I think 4 altogether for me.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of movies that are like that.
Which is weird because I'll throw on the Justice League Snyder movie that's 4 hours long.
See, I'll throw in the Whedon Justice League occasionally just because, but it's not because it's a good movie. Like, it's just because it's background noise at this point. Like that's something that I don't think the Batman has to it, where you can't.
You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Like, there's not moments where like Dark Knight, I can throw on the background and have it on in the background and know
exactly what's going on as you're doing stuff.
This one and the Batman, it gets quiet. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? Oh yeah, movie's still good.
No, and that's, I mean, I don't know, and that's I like that about the Dark Knight, and I like that about the Batman too. Like, neither of those are bad movies, like I was saying, but it's. Our expectations get held higher and higher and higher as new stuff comes out, and we don't enjoy some things that are based off our nostalgia as much because it's not, let's say, true to the original. And sometimes they're not going for that. But the problem is you don't take a property that already exists and then remake it and not expect it to be, true to the original. Because it's something you don't game much, but gaming has this going too, where there's a lot of spin-offs, reboots, stuff like that go on. That's been going on for years. But it's, sometimes there's literal remakes that are from the ground up remakes where you're just like, this is a lot different game than I played when I initially played this game. But they're like, no. It's true to the original. And you're like, no, I played the original. It's not. But they say it is. And that's what they're going for. But is that a good thing to go for?
Yeah.
Like,
I want new, give me new.
Well, that's the thing with Jurassic Park. Like, we'll go back to that one again. Like, I loved the original. I don't think there's many people that I know that have actually watched the original that don't love the original. Because I have 2 people in my life that have never seen the original. 3, I guess, if we count my newborn child. But it is not a perfect movie, but it is a very good movie. And then you have Jurassic World, which is Jurassic Park again. Like, they took out we're doing this before the park opens with all this tests and stuff like that, to we're doing it after the park opens. Oh, what causes the problem? A creature we created that's too smart, that we threw...
I remember when Jurassic World came out, I was like, we just don't learn, do we?
No. Honestly, at least with 2 and 3. 2 and 3 people didn't learn, but they didn't try to make the exact same mistake. Like, 2 is people are trying to bring the creatures to the mainland to open it, and I still stand by, just catch the goddamn herbivores. Nobody's gonna care that your dinosaur doesn't eat meat. If you bring a frickin' Triceratops to frickin' California, I will make that trip.
Not be like, here's a T-Rex. Oh, by the way, we have to feed this thing.
Yeah. Or even like, oh yeah, we have a Triceratops, but we don't have a T-Rex. I don't think I'm gonna go then.
Fuck that Triceratops. Give me something with teeth.
Well, and then freaking the world, like Jurassic World, they're like, hey, people are getting bored with dinosaurs, so we need to make different dinosaurs. And I would just be like, are you fucking serious? People are getting bored with dinosaurs? Bull fucking shit. People are getting bored with dinosaurs. We could have dinosaurs at a zoo year-round. That place would be packed.
Oh, my goodness.
10 years from now, that place would be packed. Because here's the thing. They're not competing with anyone either. Like, I can go to a zoo in Phoenix and see a lion. I can go to a zoo in San Diego and see a lion. I can go to Africa and see a lion. I can't see no goddamn dinosaur.
God damn it.
So who are you goddamn competing with that you need Verizon Wireless to support a goddamn dragon?
And on that note, folks, that was the best way to end the show. Thank you for that. I'm going to tell that to the wife. Like and subscribe. Share with your grandma. Share with your grandpa. Share with the bum down at Walmart. Thank you for listening to the Sexy Ninja Cast. It drops every Sunday. I am KMB the Sexy Ninja.
And I'm not sick of dinosaurs.
Welcome to the wicked shit.